Thank you very much. It's good to be with you. Appreciate your attention. I will speak briefly tonight on 3 ordinances just to get through the very basics with, including to share with the public what's in front of you. We have proposed 2 general obligation bonds to be paid for annually by a small increase in city property tax rates. Each of the 2 bonds will support a $5 million series of investments in key infrastructure related particularly to parks and to public works, with a plan to continue that every 5 years. We've also proposed tonight for your consideration an increase in the local income tax using the population allocation for an economic development lit. These annual funds will let the city meet critical current needs as well as address important challenges facing our community. As you know, in 4 general categories for the lit: number 1, public safety, police and fire operations and public safety facilities generally; 2, essential city services, all our core operations and personnel; 3, climate change preparedness and mitigation, including investments in our climate action plan and significantly in Bloomington transit; and 4, investments in equity and quality of life, including housing affordability, job access, the safety net, and more. I will not go into more detail on those categories at this moment. Welcome questions related to the extensive information that I know we've already exchanged. The 2 bonds, which involve borrowing to make investments that pay off through time, will make us stronger, more equitable, and more sustainable. And as you know, we have the capacity to do this. We are still well below any statutory debt limits, and when we compare Bloomington's overall debt per capita burden with our similar peer cities in Indiana, we are right in the middle, and we would stay right in the middle after these bonds are adopted, if they are. Similarly, with regard to local income tax levels, right now, our county is in the bottom lowest quartile of all the state's counties by local income tax rate, and we are the very lowest rate of the 7 contiguous counties, including our own. After adopting the proposed increase in lit, we would move to the middle of the rates in our 7-county region. We shared with you earlier today some specific answers to questions that have arisen since our last gathering together on the 13th. For example, regarding a question about departures from city employment. Indeed, we have seen that accelerating. 2021, last year, saw retirements and departures from city employment up more than 50% compared to the prior 5-year annual average. And with 36 departures so far in this year, we are on a pace to exceed 2021. We need to do more for our employees. We shared information as well about energy savings, police and fire facilities, electric vehicle and equipment replacements, the Green Ribbon Panel, and more, and happy to share more. That's all been shared with you and is available online. Many of us from the administration are here tonight, including Controller Underwood, Corporate Counsel Kate, many department heads, as you see, as we have been through the past weeks and months, and we are certainly welcome your questions, any clarifications, and feedback. We thank you for the strong collaboration that we've had. We urge you to come together in a general consensus to move our community ahead. And I will close by noting it is certainly appropriate to measure and evaluate the cost of accomplishing these various investments in our community's future. It is also certainly very appropriate to measure and evaluate the cost of not doing these investments. We look forward to working together. Thank you. Again, I've spoken with each of you and with all of you at various points and at some length about the proposed EDIT in front of you tonight. I appreciate very much your consideration and collaboration on this really important issue to move us forward. We have followed your suggestions of the past couple of years by, in this process, beginning our work not with a particular rate, but by identifying the needs of the community and how to meet those needs, and then calculating an ED Lit local income tax rate that allows us to meet those needs. I will briefly summarize the proposal for you and the public watching, then again hear from our controller and our corporate counsel to outline basic financial and procedural points. We're proposing new revenue based on 4 categories, 4 buckets, if you will, of critical community needs. 2 buckets focus on present pressing needs for city government directly to serve our residents, public safety and essential services. Public safety needs include salary costs under the recently negotiated Fraternal Order of Police contingent contract, as well as supportive services and critical facility upgrades for fire and police. Essential service needs include clear pressures to increase support for all our other city personnel, as well as deferred and ongoing basic maintenance needs and very real cost increases for supplies and services, as well as inexorable revenue declines in certain areas. 2 of the buckets focus on meeting critical future community needs: climate change and equity and quality of life. Regarding the emergency of climate change and the need to mitigate, adapt, and develop resilience, we are proposing significant enhancements to our state-leading public transit system, as well as dedicated annual funding to implement our progressive climate action plan. Regarding equity and quality of life, we are proposing significant investments in improving access to safe and quality housing across our city, both ownership and rental, as well as helping people access good jobs and continuing traditional support for our arts and local food sectors. Finally, we are earmarking funds to help those taxpayers who may face challenges from the LIT itself, an economic equity fund to support those in need. Many of us in this administration are available tonight for questions about the extensive information we have shared about these proposals. We have gotten quite a bit of feedback along the way from you and the wider public on several matters. We have heard concerns, which we share, about the impact of the LIT on those taxpayers least able to afford increased costs. Of course, first we highlight the annual Economic Equity Fund as a substantial cushion dedicated to that. And we do note that for seniors or others on Social Security income, in Indiana and locally, there is no income tax due on Social Security benefits at all, so no impact from ED Lit on that fixed income source. We heard concerns about potential free or reduced fares for seniors or low-income workers using Bloomington Transit. Those options are very possible, and funding is earmarked for that purpose. We heard interest in having a separate fund for ED Lit proceeds with annual budget review and fiscal plan. We plan to do just that with a discrete fund and annual budget review. Based on feedback from Council, we made 4 specific adjustments in the proposal since sharing it last month, increasing essential services in 2 particulars, and increasing climate action plan and economic equity fund allocations as well. Some have asked, can the administration not just tighten its belt and save our way to what is needed in city government? We absolutely agree on the imperative to save and tighten belts where possible. We have been doing that intentionally, and a list online shows many steps taken. Just a few examples. We replaced crews of 4 firefighters and a large engine with 2-person crews using a commercial SUV to respond to many medical calls. 5 street sweeping vehicles have been reduced to 2, doing fewer passes on city streets. We started leaf collection later in the year, cutting from 2 passes to 1 per neighborhood, encouraging also residents to compost their own leaves, saving money in leaf collection. In 2004, Bloomington had 1 fleet mechanic for every 45 city vehicles. Today, each fleet mechanic services 65 vehicles, doing more with less. Couple smaller, modest examples perhaps. We eliminated 3 executive-level city vehicles for the mayor, deputy mayor, and parks director are no longer using city vehicles. And as you know, City Hall continues to use an antiquated phone system well over 20 years old that we have not replaced. So we do tighten our belts. Beyond finding savings like these, which will continue, I will just note that the structural need for annual revenue is at a scale that would require drastic reductions in personnel and services to meet essential needs. Controller Underwood will share more details, but I'll just note that we face approximately $5 million in annual basic operating shortfalls in coming years, which is only addressable through new revenue or what I would deem unacceptable cuts in service and personnel. I'll close with 2 final points. First, we have the capacity very responsibly to make these balanced investments in our future. We are the lowest of all our neighbor counties in our lit rate, and we are very nearly the lowest of all our 20 peer Indiana cities for combined property and income tax rates. We have the capacity to make these essential investments for our future. And finally, regarding timing, we are already beginning the process to prepare the 2023 city budget, and we need to know what resources we have available for that budget. We have a contingent FOP contract that is essential to sign as soon as possible to help us retain and recruit quality police officers. And since we began discussing a little increase a couple years ago, we've already seen the state legislature take steps to make it more difficult to pass a lit. We don't know what the future may hold. With this, our only substantial local ability to determine our local fiscal destiny. So I appreciate your consideration. I'm not going to repeat more that I've already said. I'm going to ask Controller Underwood, followed by Council Kate, to provide their updates, and then we'll back to you. Thank you.